welcome to another installment of the ZFFFFL Fantasy Football League Fantasy Football Podcast. This week brought to you by Sleeper. Sleeper, the only fantasy football app made for fans by fans. This is a show where we take a look into the details and goings on in this league, because we all know our commissioner won't. I'm here with my co-host as usual, Mr. RJ Wagner. RJ, how are you doing?
Ted, I am doing great. Good weekend. Sadly, Wednesday nights now. I have nothing with the finale of The Bachelorette over. I know at least one other fantasy member wasn't too pleased with Joan choosing Chalk over Guy, as I got a text yesterday, so about 5 days behind the actual showing, from another manager, Jack, who just goes, "Not Chalk, Guy!" So clearly he was very upset, and he's also upset that Grant is the new Bachelor, so who knows if he'll be watching in Mondays in January. But yeah, yesterday, Dancing with the Stars semis tonight, big episode. And then also I just happened to drop the highest total of the year. So forgot to mention that, but yeah.
Gotta be feeling good. And speaking of feeling good, here's Kevin.
Yeah. Feeling great. Ted, RJ, happy to be here. Dropped my highest total of the year en route to my 6th win and punching my playoff ticket. And let me tell you, gentlemen, it has me feeling a little magical.
Oh, fuck. Boo. Boo. Boo.
We are 6-5. We feel good. We're going to get into the details today because our commissioner won't. I feel very, very good. We're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's a good time to be alive. Gentlemen, let's get into it.
Wow. I'm surprised by your sudden turn of suicidalness.
Yeah.
Wow, let's get right into it. Kevin, why don't we talk about your matchup? You would have had the highest if not for RJ, but 158-98, you annihilated Jack. You had some nuclear firepower. When I looked at it was like I was looking at the deaths of tens of thousands of innocent Japanese children, women, and elderly, because you just dropped an atomic bomb on Jack. Josh Allen, 26, Saquon, 32, Amon-Ra, 33, Jonnu Smith, 25. Wow. Jack, on the other hand, Kupp and Purdy, only ones over 20, no one else above 11 points. I feel like he's going to have to talk to his locker room because they need a pick-me-up. RJ, what do you think about this before Kevin gives a lot?
Yeah, Jack, I wouldn't say Jack needed the win necessarily, but definitely wanted the win to help separate him from the bottom of the pack. But Kevin just shoved him right back down there. Mm-hmm. Solid performance from kicker and defense, actually. Wait, hold on. I need to pull it up. Pull up the game. Am I talking about Kevin or Jack's team? Solid defense and kicker. Oh, Jack.
Not me.
Kupp went off. Purdy, solid performance. Running backs and Debo Hawkinson, though, absolutely nothing. Tough to see for him going from a 7-0 breakdown performance last week against me to perform like that. But no matter what they did, they weren't coming back from Kevin's performance. Mm-hmm. Kevin, crazy. You had 4 single-digit players and still scored 158. Saquon Thursday night, Amon-Ra, dare I say, Jonnu Smith looks like the best receiver in Miami. A respectable 10 from Jax Ramondre in his revenge game. Even though he's still, I mentioned it last week, his stat, he has not gotten a week of 4 yards per carry or more at all in a single game. Didn't get it this week either. And still a really good week from Josh Allen. Scary, though. You have a scary team. If the whole team can get into double digits, maybe just like a nuclear performance from Josh Allen, I could see this lineup being a potential 1 week 200-plus score. It has that sort of potential with the boom that the boom that the boom that the top players have. If you can just fill in a couple of those other pieces, that's a solid squad.
I agree. I appreciate the kind words. As you guys know, I'm big into the numbers. We're going to dig into the numbers today, a little research I did, and keep our eye on the big picture. That's the playoff picture. So let's get into it here. Very happy to get a 60-point win. Middle finger to Kyle and his insult point differential stat. Brock Purdy has about 26 points per game in his last three. Jack's running backs combined for 14.8, including Bijan with his first single-digit performance since week 5. Cup, like Ted said, the only real bright spot. One thing to note, not that it would have helped him against my nuclear performance, but he did leave 37 and a half on the bench from Taysom Hill and 37 more from Bo Nix. Might want to think about shuffling those guys.
I do want to say he did. I'm pretty sure he did pick those up.
Yeah.
Pick players up mid.
Both of them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. He had Taysom, started him last week, and then dropped him, and then picked him right back up after he started going nuclear.
Okay. I was going to say, I thought, no, you're right, because I'll get into it, but when I woke up Sunday to Kittle not playing, I looked, and Taysom Hill was available.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I was on here 5 weeks ago, I said Jack's team was donezo. And I don't think I was too far off, but he's 2-3 since then. Dangerously close to the come game, and we'll get more into his outlook in the preview. Now on to me and a bit of a bulletin board material. Jack pinged me on Microsoft Teams on Thursday. He said, I will ping you every day this week until I win our matchup. Now, that was wrong for 2 reasons. One, every day this week, the week was nearly over, and I took Friday off. So it was really just that day. And a bit of a kiss of death by saying he would win. He got absolutely annihilated. He also texted me change in communication medium on Thursday and said, and I quote, I'm going to guess our matchup is a preview of the first round of the playoffs.
Wow.
Right? A bold statement as an underdog. But let's get into the numbers. Josh Allen finished as the team's leading rusher. He has 705 yards, 11 touchdowns, no picks against the blitz this season. Most touchdowns in the league. We talked last time I was on about his home and away splits. That grows apart even further. Listen to this. 30.64 at home per game. On the road, 17.69.
Wow.
Much wider than the last time I was on. He does finish with 3 out of 5 home games, including the semis and championship.
Oh, that's huge.
Saquon, this is really interesting. So he's been so consistently up and down, just like every other week. I looked into it. Get a load of this. No correlation with home and away, but in odd numbered weeks, 1, 3, 5, etc., he is scoring 30.74 points per game. In even numbered weeks, 2, 4, 6, 8, etc., 10.9.
Championship.
Thank God that champion. Wait, what week is championship week?
17. So 2 out of 3 playoff weeks are odd numbered, which is huge. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, really proving he was worthy of that first round pick. I know we talked about some inconsistencies early on. I was certainly worried. Had his highest total of the year in that thrashing of the Jags. Interestingly, though, only his second performance going over 20 points. So the consistency is there. Speaking of, 8 straight games for the touchdown. I didn't know that until I looked this morning. He had 2 on Sunday. Drake London, who I was high on, he's wide receiver 5. 3 out of 4 weeks in the single digits the last 4 weeks. So not crazy about that. He's going to regroup on his bye week. Let's talk about Jonnu Smith. So filling in very nicely Sunday morning. Like I said, found out Kittle was not playing. Got his highest point total of the season, probably the highest of his career, and a higher point total than any of Kittle's games all year, who was 1. So that was very nice. Now, RJ talked about it, and I'll close with this before we go on to the next matchup, because I know we're going to keep this pod really, really short.
Mm-hmm.
On this day, November 19th in 1863, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address.
Wow.
I now want to deliver a similar address talking about what I will call my optimal lineup as the playoffs loom. If you look into it, it is QB4, RB2, Isaiah Pacheco, who has only played 1.5 games, but he is running back 13 in terms of points per game in those 2 games, which lines up with the likes of Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane. So really anticipating him to do wonders for me this week as he is back this week. Wide receiver 2, wide receiver 5, tight end 1 in terms of points per game because Brock Bowers had a big week. I also have QB3. We will get to that more in the preview. I am in search of that consistent flex player, though. You mentioned Ramondre Stevenson, Calvin Ridley coming on since Nuke got traded, but I can't find that consistency. Maybe looking in the trade market. Point being, I am confident. I am poised to make a deep run. This team is real. I feel really, really good. Big win for Kevin. 6-5 playoffs. Here we come.
No idea what that has to do with the Gettysburg Address, but let's keep rolling. Taking another matchup. This is relevant for Jack because Monty beat Chase. They're both 3-8 now. Monty wins 121-95. The Bink is still alive, as I think you said, Kev. He's not done. He had some great performances. Breece Hall finally was some good, 27. Chris Boswell, 24. I think that's going to be a great as the season keeps going because the Steelers offense loves to get to the 30 and 40 and stop, and that's all they need. And Joku doing good with 15. His team's looking good. And then Chase, on the other hand, he had Justin Herbert with 28, but besides that, CD with 15. And then what did he have? 5 players in single digits. That's rough. Chase, I think his team is a lot like Jack, where they're sort of faltering at this point of the season when they really need to be ramping up. RJ, how'd you feel about this matchup?
Yeah, Ted, must win for Bink. There's still work to do, but that was just a big win, not only for him, but to get Chase that loss, especially as he was in bye week hell with neighbors James Conner and Maserati Marv. Breece Hall with 2 touchdowns, even though it wasn't enough against the Colts. Woo-woo. Hurts, respectable 18, and Joku, great work. That's the type of work he was expecting from the tight end position probably all year after drafting Sam Laporta, even though he hasn't gotten it. Glad he got it with Njoku there. And the MVP, like you said, Chris motherfucking Boswell, 24 points, 3 from 50 plus, single-handedly getting the win for the Steelers. Right. How do you get that? I
think it's because he's on the phone.
That might be what
in the code.
Now, Chase, yeah, Herbert good, CD fine, everyone else terrible. I'm really surprised I'm not hearing much from him in the approach to the trade deadline because, you know, he needs to make some moves. He needs to do something. It really seems like he's just throwing in the towel now. You know, Chase he was the dominance in this league and in fantasy football. Where's he been? I've heard that there might be a little female presence in his world now. Is that sort of taking some prioritization over the league? Wow. Like, what are we doing here? And there's no chemistry in his clubhouse. You can see it. There's no leadership. He's currently in the come game. Very, very bad loss for Chase. He really needs to get his priorities in check.
Could not agree more. Too many Y. Ted, do women have Y chromosomes?
No, they're XX.
Oh, okay. Well, too many X chromosomes going on. I mean, RJ covered most of it here. Low score of the week. I mean, let's talk about his running backs. Like Aaron Jones in the last 4 has gone 10, 10, 11, 5. Kyron averaging 9.1 in the last 3. The points just aren't there. Devontae Adams sucks. CD has snuck his way to wide receiver 4, but in his last 3, he's averaging 10.7. And to RJ's point, yeah, it's sad to see our boy go out this way. One thing I will note is Chase picked his poison at quarterback. Turned out to be a good choice so far. Are you guys? RJ's frozen. I saw he dropped Baker for Justin Herbert a week or 2 ago. Very interesting. Am I frozen or is RJ?
I think it's keep going. You're not frozen.
Dropped Yeah, Baker for Justin Herbert, which was very interesting but intentional. Herbert has a very favorable schedule the rest of the way. Paid off for him this week with 28 points. As far as Monty, this duo only got him 27, but I'm never going to count out a team that has the Jalen A.J. Brown stack. Being a former Jalen owner, late in the year, he really turns it on. At this point in the year, I mentioned we're thinking big picture. And with the bank, it's just depth and volatility. He's about to lose Kareem Hunt with Pacheco back this week. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver 38 in the last 4 weeks, relying on those two inconsistent rookies. And if you recall, RJ made a statement 2 or 3 weeks ago on the pod that somebody said last year was a bink fluke. I would like to admit that somebody was me. It was a good win this week, but I definitely think we just witnessed a come game preview. This was a disgusting matchup, and I guess Monty maybe got a couple extra minutes of sleep last night with a win, but I think these two were sticking at the bottom.
Do you guys know who Dove Kleinem is? Kleinem?
I see his tweets a lot.
Yeah. He tweeted, so, Monty has Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. This might give Monty some clarity in the quarterback room. He tweeted, breaking, Packers quarterback Jordan Love is quietly seeing nobody and apparently gets, quote, no bitches, according to teammates.
Wow.
So you really want that sort of guy leading your locker room, or at least in this case, the bench? I mean, yeah, like you said, Kev, the volatility, there's a lot of it.
That is tough to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, moving on to our next matchup. This was another one to stay alive. Kyle beat me 133 to 111. I learned the hard way, just like RJ did. It's very possible to lose with your quarterback scoring 42. Whole lot of nothing besides that on my team, besides Josh Jacob with 21. Kyle really had no one go insane himself. But he really had Jamar with 23, Bowers with 25, Cook with 17, Jahmyr Gibbs really giving him that much-needed win. I think it was a great win for Kyle, and, it stings a little bit, but I'm not panicking too much. I don't need to make too many crazy moves, give up any depth. But RJ, how are you feeling?
But I didn't realize that one bit you in the ass. Your bit last week about RJ scoring 40 at quarterback. I'll let RJ go,
though. This win really separated Kyle from the bottom sort of guys in the league. Jamar and my quarterback, Joe Burrow's chemistry right now is on fire, even though the Bengals aren't on fire. And Brock fucking Bowers, the dude's just an absolute animal. In my opinion, I know Kevin might not agree, but I think easily the best tight end in the league. Running backs looked great, even though a tough game for Lamar. Zay Flowers performed good with that touchdown. Nico's still just working back. And what do you get? 7 points or something? 7 or 8?
7.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's not loading. And overall good performance, 133. And for those of you that don't remember, I have something for you, Ted. At the 7:20 mark in the last pod, you did say, oh, hold on, let me turn it up. I'll start it a little early.
Drake London, Kittle. None of them did really anything too special. They all did all right, but Kevin needs one of those people to get a 30-piece, and he just did not do it. Trevor, on the other hand, Lamar with 41, you've got to be cruising. I don't know anyone who would lose where their quarterback scored more than 40. That would just be embarrassing for the
Absolutely embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing for a team to have a quarterback go for 40 and not get the win. I mean, yeah, Ted, Goff and Josh Jacobs accounted for 57.34% of your total points. Travis Kelce, 13% target share, 2 catches, 8 yards, lowest for season total for him. 2 missed kicks from Justin Tucker. Still wouldn't have made a difference. At least I scored in the 120s with my 40 40-point quarterback. Would you score 111, barely in the tens? I mean, absolutely terrible look for you, Teddy. Especially after the disrespect you showed me on the last pod. And, oh, yeah, Ted, I scored 173 with a 30-point quarterback this week. So suck on that. That's all I got.
Yeah, Kevin, do you have anything to say to that?
I have some numbers I want to go through, but I think I want to hear from you. Any immediate reaction?
I would just say, did you win this week, RJ?
Yeah, I did.
Win last week?
No, I didn't.
Did I win last week?
Yes.
Did I win this week?
Look at the
1-1 the past 2 weeks. I think our teams are even.
Look at the points total. Look at the breakdown. Our teams aren't even, big man.
Hold on. Look at the records. Oh, our teams aren't even, small man. I don't know why you keep. Oh, top of that, you're still chasing me.
I'm just responding to the disrespect that I saw last podcast that was just out of the blue, unnecessary. I've never shown disrespect to you, your team, your family, and then you do it last podcast, so I have to stand up for my family, for my team, for my guys.
And you could do that. Maybe I have been humbled a little bit, and I realized a 40-point quarterback performance because I was 30 minutes before kickoff, I was going to start Kirk Cousins, and I would have had 75 points if that went through. But I didn't.
Hey, Ted, it sounds like you have a bit of a quarterback controversy.
I might.
What is that they say? If you have two quarterbacks, you have none?
No quarterback. I wish I could get a quarterback. Just give up a bench piece that I don't use.
Eat the ass?
Give up a bench piece I don't use and just lick around the rim and get someone who's got favorable matchups
through the playoffs.
I wish there was a guy like Jack who has Bo Nix who's looking great, or a guy like Kyle who has Jaden Daniels who's looking great.
Well, why don't we talk about that with some numbers I have on your matchup of getting absolutely obliterated, although you got 42 from the quarterback position. Okay. First with Kyle, double digits from everyone except defense and Nico. I think RJ hit that. Jahmyr Gibbs, not a single digit game all year. Kyle with maybe the best 1-2 wide receiver punch in the league with Nico back healthy, Jamar lighting the league on fire. We talked about Bowers. One thing to note, Jaden Daniels getting a lot of hype in the, on the gridiron, on ESPN, national media. However, he has only scored 17.72 points a game since week 4. Maybe that number is a bit lower than we thought. Some might say a quarterback would pull it all together for Kyle. I'm not saying it, but some reports are saying that. One thing I want to talk about, my reason for why I think Monty will stay at the bottom, the volatility, depth, etc. Let's talk about Kyle's bench. He has Ladd McConkey. Ladd, the rookie out of Los Angeles, is wide receiver 16 on the year, averaging double digits, could be a good plug and play. I know Jamar's on a bye. Also, DeAndre Swift, this was crazy, has had one single digit game since week 3, even with the Bears being pretty bad. So that was surprising. For Ted, Derrick Henry, still the king in terms of RB1. However, 12 points a game in his last 2. That's good enough for running back 14. Maybe Tractor Cito did a little reversal, strong in the front of the year and kind of tailing out at the end. I guess we'll see. Alvin Kamara, very sorry to say, dropped to RB3 on the year. Because Saquon overtook that RB2 position. So you no longer have the best 2 running backs in the league. Josh Jacobs been absolutely phenomenal. No single-digit games since week 4 because, what does this say? Oh, because of that running back room on Teddy's team. I would say, what is the point in leaving any stragglers on your bench? Maybe hit the trade market, maybe look at the opportunity cost. There's no reason to have any of those backfield powerhouses just rotting away. I want to talk about the down spots, get some dialogue from Ted here. So Scary Terry with 1.5, Kelsey with 1.8. Are you worried about your pass catchers? especially given Tyreek, even with Tua back for a few weeks, has not really been himself. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say wide receivers are definitely a position where I'm going up and down. I've liked what George Pickens has done. He's really earned his spot on my starting wide receiver squad. But, Scary Terry, I've never really, ever since that Cathedral game, just seeing him get torn up by Trevor being a DB, I've never really been 100% behind him. I mean, last week he had 2 catches. They just happened to be 2 touchdowns. This week he had 1 catch. So that's not good.
I think he had no catches.
He had 1 catch.
I thought he had 10 rushing yards.
No,
Maybe I'm wrong.
10 receiving yards and 1 catch. And then Tyreek, it's a real question mark, but it's tough with no left arm to be playing in this league. So maybe he could even be on the trade market. It might not be a running back. I'm trying to do a little wide receiver swap for someone instead of trying to go for a position that's so – never mind. But then, Kelsey, rail up and down. It's been kind of, they say when you have 2 tight ends, you have no tight ends. Him and Pitts have both sort of been. I don't know why I've kept both of them. I should give one of them up.
But Teddy, you can start 2 tight ends. Our flex allows you to have 2 tight ends.
I don't think I'm ready to make history like that. I think that should be a momentous occasion.
Charity, you want to talk some ball?
She's dressed as a grandmother.
Why?
It's Grandparents' Day.
Cool. She graduates tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, her graduation isn't tomorrow, but she's done with school tomorrow.
Speech.
All right, continue.
Oh, but there could be some up and down. It's like I was saying at the beginning of the year. I don't like having a lot of options. I like having a lineup that I stick with. So maybe I am willing to give up Tyreek for someone who's a little bit more consistent rather than Tyreek who's so up and down, who, he got 15 this week, but maybe he go for 30 next week.
So you need a quarterback and a wide receiver. You could maybe give up a running back and Tyreek.
Yeah, something like that. Instead of just someone saying, take Baker, he's so good. Take Baker.
Why Baker? Why?
That seems oddly specific.
Hold off the top.
Is that just the first quarterback that came to your head? Is that?
Yeah,
because that's who you really want.
I saw John Kleeman saying Baker gets bitches, so I thought maybe that would be someone I'd want on my team.
Baker, happily married.
Congrats to him and the missus.
So moving on to the last matchup. This one's going quick. RJ wanted to leave this for the end just so you could really relish in it, feel good. You destroyed Trevor to try and get yourself up into the bye week.
Annihilation.
173-115. Massive beatdown. Burrow 35. T. Higgins 25. Joe Mixon 34. Puka 21. Demont 23. And then Trevor just had letdown after letdown. Lamar with 17. I think that should say enough. But A-Chain, Chase Brown, Dobbins keeping him afloat. Also the Texans D, a good pickup again by Trevor. But RJ, how do you feel about just this annihilation? Not only taking Trevor's total points for the year, but just taking his life out from under him.
Well, not total points for the year, but the highest
total points in a week
for the week record. Yeah. Ted, really, it was a top to bottom performance for me. It was one of those weeks that, everything just feels good besides Jake Ferguson dying. I didn't really know what to say or how to really critique my team. It really came together for me. I really wish CMC got that first touchdown. Still waiting to know that feeling. For Trev, running backs did well. Besides that, underwhelming, especially from his QB1, Lamar. 16 isn't bad, but for a QB1, you don't really want that. Garrett Wilson, only 6 grabs on 8 targets for 18 yards. That definitely hurt him. Big win for me when it comes to the buys. Adds for a possible huge Week 14 matchup, Ted, for you and Trev. As Trev previously beaten you, that could be big because, if Trev beats you again and say we're all still tied by then, or say I can get up to your guys' record.
Get it
and
up.
we're all tied, Ted, you'll drop out of that bye week just off of points 4 if we're all 2-2 against each other. Now, for Trev, I know he had him on his bench. Austin Eckler's target share had a 28% target share. Compare that, Ted, to your Terry McLaurin, who saw a 6.3% target share this week. And the fact that Jane Daniels' average rushing yards the last 3 weeks is just 19 compared to 53 in his first 8 games. It's almost seeming like he's becoming a little check down merchant. So I think Austin Eckler could be good coming up. And personally, I think it all comes down to that rib injury that Jane Daniels was seeing. I think that's why he's not running as much, and that's also why I don't think he's doing as good as he was doing earlier in the year, because he's just scared to run the ball. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, that Texans defense, that was a good pickup, but wasn't enough.
Wow, I love that analysis, and it lines up with just how he hasn't really. Jaden's been 17, I think I said, since week 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. What do I have on here? Burrow's QB1 the last 4 weeks. McCaffrey, you mentioned, hasn't gotten a touchdown. I just feel like McCaffrey's creeping. Like he's the most explosive back in the league. He 11.
You don't say creep unless you're quoting TLC.
I just think he's going to explode. Speaking of running backs, I just want to talk about David Montgomery. He's had 1 single-digit game all year. Running back 10 overall, running back 5 the last 2 weeks. I didn't think this was sustainable. I think I mentioned it last time I was on because Jahmyr Gibbs, the split backfield. Gibbs is still running back 6 overall. I just put here, what a blessing for RJ to be able to play a guy, no-brainer every week, who you're signing up for a split backfield. And the Lions are so electric that you can just, start him without a second thought. And they're playing the Colts this week, so that's not going to end.
Sorry, real quick. I actually didn't have him even in my starting lineup until probably 30 minutes before the 1 p.m. I had Kenneth Walker instead of Dave Montgomery, and then just switched it out.
I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to round out your running back room. So I had here, add in running back 5, Joe Mixon, who's running back 1 the last 4 weeks, and Kenneth Walker, who, get this, he is 6th in points per game because he's had some injuries, and he has had 1 single-digit game all year. I would say you two gentlemen on the pod here are fighting for the best running back rooms in the league. It is absolutely stacked. As far as your receiver room, Marge, I just put injury bug no more. There you go. T. Higgins 25 in his return. Puka 3 out of 4 double-digit games since he came back, and I'm pretty sure the 1 single was when he got ejected for saying that slur on a hot mic. Now, little chink in the armor for Trev here. Still scored 1.
Whoa! Talking about Teddy, you're muted. Talking about
Kevin's talking about Young Hoku over here. Why are you bringing him up?
Oh!
Kevin,
Talking about medieval times. Armor. Anyway, still scoring 115 in a loss. I mean, he's got to be feeling just fine at 8-3. His eyes on that bye. I did see Mr. Lichty on Sunday in the flesh. I would be lying if I said I didn't get great joy out of seeing him just very sad. I'm pretty sure he had 6 straight wins. He just beat my brains in last week or the week before. So that was nice to see, especially as I was on pace for 160. Chase Brown has had 1 single-digit game since week 4 when he took the starting job from Zach Moss. He's running back 5 in the last 4 weeks. You asked, or we all asked, I know I asked, how Trevor does it. He had a horrible draft. This is how he does it. Sound pickups with guys like Chase Brown having the foresight, while idiots like me hold on to Zach Moss for 2 weeks too long. Devon Achane is back with Tua's return, running back 3 the last 4 weeks. J.K. Dobbins running back 10 the last 4 weeks, proving well in that Harbaugh offense. Last thing here, some inconsistency in the wide receiver room for Trevor. So Jay Jettis, wide receiver 3, only gone over 20 points once this season. I thought that was interesting. First round pick, you'd expect maybe more Jamar Chase numbers, those nuclear performances. Garrett Wilson. Nuclear. Garrett Wilson, 10.4 combined points the last 2 weeks. Good enough for wide receiver 59 in that. This one is massive. Trevor, I know, was really, really high on Jaden Reed, who's averaging 9.1 points a game since week 4. He has fallen off hard. I know some Malik Willis was in there, but I don't know what happened to him. And then Amari Cooper and Jawan Jennings, I'm not sure you can trust. So he's heavy on wide receivers, but I'm not sure, besides Jettas, if he really has that solid number 2. But 8-3 and charging for that bye.
Ted?
I got nothing else to say.
I do have some fun facts if we're off. There, I do have kind of a lot.
How
you can just grow it each week.
No, this one maybe not as. Yeah, it's a lot. Just bear with me now. Jalen Hurts has now scored 9 rushing touchdowns in his last 5 games.
Wow,
that's crazy. DeAndre Swift, we talked about for Kyle, weeks 8, 9, and 10 had running back shares of 90%, 84%, 94%. This week, though, 58. Roshan Johnson back saw a big chunk of that running back share working. Yep.
Was Roshan hurt? Because I saw he took 10 carries like before this past week.
Yeah, he was out. He just
massive.
Yeah. You mentioned Jaden Reed, still very boomer bust. I know early in the podcast, or early this year in the podcast, I mentioned his target share wasn't that high. So what he was doing with his catches, he was performing. Is that sustainable? He's only had 2 games this year of 20+ target share, and he hasn't had one since week 5. So lack of target share. He obviously hasn't been able to sustain that. Kev, you mentioned Amon-Ra scored in 8 straight, target shares of 30+ in his last 3 weeks.
Nice.
Tony Pollard has not seen a game this year of sub-double-digit target share, so he's really getting that receiving work out of the backfield. Jonnu Smith, last 6 weeks, an average target share percentage of 22%. I really feel like that's a top tight end right there. And, Kev, I did see you dropped him. And
you got him.
I did pick him up after Jake Ferguson passed away. Tyreek Hill, only 3 games this year of 25% target share or higher. Last year, he had 14 of those. So much different than last year. Puka has only played, like you said, 3 games this year since returning from injury and getting rejected for that slur. Target share percentage of 27, 32, and 33. This is crazy. Matthew Stafford's touchdowns to Cooper Kupp or Puka in the last 4 games, 10. Passing touchdowns in general, the last 6 games, without those guys, 3 total passing touchdowns.
Wow.
10 in the last 4 to Puka and Kupp, 3 in total last 6 without them. Taysom Hill saw a career-high 10 targets last week. Jerome Ford out-snapped Nick Chubb 41-22. Sadly, I don't know how much you've seen of the Browns or Nick Chubb run the ball. He does not look explosive anymore at all. Really sad to see. And then last one, JT has handled 100% of the Colts running back share in 3 of the last 4 games.
Sheesh.
Crazy. I'll stop there. Plenty more stats on my blog, and follow the Twitter for more, because the Twitter is popping.
I'm glad you said the stat about Pollard, like what, double-digit target share in every game or something. Because I just picked up Ramondre, but I have 2 of like those most frustrating guys in fantasy where no one does less with more. Like, Ramondre especially, and Tajay Spears is back taking some from Pollard, but Stevenson gets every carry. And what did you say? Like less than 4 per carry. And
hasn't had a game that averaged 4 yards per carry, which is insane because in my head I thought Ramondre was that like kind of sneaky good guy that you could draft late that can always perform 20 carries, but only 10 points. I mean, 10 points is still fine, especially for a running back that you just picked up. But yeah, he has not looked very good, but has gotten so much work.
A sneak peek, last thing. Sorry, Ted. Sneak peek, as I am clearly, I think, by the last 40 minutes in the trade market for a consistent flex. Stevenson, I think his next 4 games are against bottom 8 run defenses. So maybe he'll pick it up, and he's the guy that I need. Ted, I have another segment. Should we do it after the commercial?
I have one thing real quick.
Ooh. I have one more stat really, really quick.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Just Brian Thomas Jr. with Mac Jones. He saw a target share of 25%. That's his highest mark since week 7. That's it.
Okay, that helps me. So I've got a little trivia question before the commercial, and then think about it during the commercial. Also watch the commercial.
This could be a 2-hour podcast.
Just looking at anyone, and then we'll come back, and I want you to answer it after the commercial break, Kevin. And I want our viewers to think about it and comment down below what you think of this trivia question. So the trivia question is, how many times did RJ mention target share or running share in the previous segment just now? And so think of your answer, and we'll be right back.
You know me. I know what I'm doing. I can win it all back. My luck is changing. I'm going to strike the big one. Imagine what we can do. One more try. I promise I will give it all back.
All right, I hope you've thought of your answer. This isn't really too official. I just checked it every time that RJ said it during his last segment. And Kevin, how many times do you think RJ brought up target share or running share in the last segment?
I'm going to say 7.
I was either going to say, hold on. I was either going to say 8 or 9, and I'll say 9, so an 8 would be a push for us. I'll say 9.
11
Wow.
times brought up target share, running share, not counting snap share or any route share. Or anything
wow,
like
I guessed 9, and it was 11.
11 times.
Whoa. Doug McDermott. Sean McDermott.
Doug McDermott.
So, Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Kevin Paul O'Brien, I hear you've got a segment today.
I do have a segment. This time last week, I was disappointed because everyone in this league, they have jobs. And sometimes people don't do those jobs. Okay?
Yeah.
Now,
say Twitter manager, but okay.
Yeah.
Last week's guest, who will remain unnamed, I look forward to his appearances because I need to pay my rent. I need to pay for food. And he provides those once a month or so with his 3 binky picks. Again, the guest will remain unnamed. So I, the giver that I am, have taken it upon myself to do that segment because he was too lazy to put a few betting picks together.
I completely forgot that he said that he would post them in the group.
I was so excited for the theater of that segment. Then he's like, I don't have picks, so I'll put him in the group.
Dang, that's crazy. I completely forgot about that. That's why he's down with the bottom of the group, not doing his job.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So the single bet, baby back bink. This one cannot lose. We have Thursday night football. Pat Fryermuth, 2+ touchdowns at plus 3,000.
This can't lose.
I'm sure there are some statistics out there about how he's going to get targeted more by Russie, and he will score 2 or more, maybe sprinkle 3 or more for plus 3,000. That's a lock on the single bet. Baby back bink.
Wait, what week is this? Is this week 12, right?
Week 12.
Because I wrote down the binks in week 5.
And now,
That's
moving
the
to
single baby back bank?
Huh?
So that's 1 unit on that.
One. That's correct. 1 unit plus 3,000, so you'll win 30 units.
Wow.
You're welcome in advance. Now, for the discount double bink, our bet is for Teddy with the points to beat Monty in week 12 via the A6 Sportsbook line.
The line's not even out yet.
2 units. 2 units. It cannot lose. Discount double bink. Putting the bank into the last place game. 2 units. Hammer it. Any questions?
No.
And now
Keep rolling.
for the triple binky. Way too stinky. We prayed long and hard. And the man from upstairs in the heavens spoke to me in my sleep last night. He said 3 units on this play. Hell, double it to 6 units if you want. We have, are you ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
Joey Graziati to win Dancing with the Stars.
Whoa!
Plus 120 odds according to Bet Online. They're pulling for Chandler Kinney minus 250, Danny Amendola plus 250. I say no. Joey to win Dancing with the Stars. 3 units plus money. Book it. Triple binky, too stinky.
I love that.
I'm out already. Kevin, I already had enough of your appropriation of a league member's, not only a segment you stole, the whole thing. I think this is a very Elvis type move where he worked hard to create that and then you took it. But you can't watch Chandler dance. She's basically a pro. Joey's doing good, but he's not Chandler.
But it's not off of the dance, how good you are as a dancer. It's a popularity contest.
Right.
Yes.
I think if you said it's plus 120.
Plus 120 on Bet Online.
And Chandler's minus 250?
250 after last week's episode. Minus 250.
Wow. That is insane. I think that's a no-brainer. I might actually have to put some money into Bet Online or Bet AG. What is it?
Bet Online. I don't even know if that's a real site, but it was an article I found.
I think it is. That might be wow. I might have to do that.
Stinky.
Wow, let's see what the Bink. I was going to bring up no polls again this week. Also, the Bink didn't give us anything, so I think the Bink is very depressed.
He won.
Oh, yeah. He did win.
Sometimes a win hurts you because that feeling of hope, you just know you're going to lose it. I mean, we all have been there.
In life.
Yeah. It's like when you think, you're almost there and you got it, and then boom, the beam breaks and you hit the floor and you're just the whole
beam, big boom.
So keep moving on. Let's go to the Week 12 preview.
As we begin the preview of Week 12 of the 2024 ZFFFL, I must remind you of our great sponsorship over at our ZFFFL A6 Sportsbook, A6 Footwear. When you lace up the A6 Super Blast, it's more than just a run. It's an experience. Each step, a deep, satisfying that leaves you craving more. Thick soles, thick bounce, and thick booty women watching you glide by. Unstoppable. Feel the rhythm, embrace the grind, and let the Super Blast take you all the way. Faster, harder, longer, until you're drenched in victory. ASIC Super Blast. Don't just run, dominate. ASICs, a sound mind is a sound body.
Thanks to our sponsors. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Woo! Got me feeling good.
Really? I'm revved up, ready to talk preview.
So let's just get into it. We've got our first matchup, calling this the Boone Village Barbershop. Rest in peace. Give me a smile matchup because both of these guys need a little fresh snip, need a smile. I think they'll be ear to ear if they get a smile after this one. Jack versus Trevor. Trevor looking for that buy security. Jack looking for that not in the come game security. Big for Trevor. He needs Lamar to go off. He also needs, like Kevin was saying, or was it RJ, his wide receivers to pick it up. JJ, Jay Reed, Jay Jennings, a lot of J's. Jack really needs Cup and JT to have huge weeks to cover for Bijan out. But Jack's team, he really could use a bump at that quarterback. If only he could give up someone like DK Metcalf for like a Baker Mayfield. I think that would be a great switch.
Oddly specific.
But RJ, how does the sportsbook feel about this one?
2 running backs on bye this matchup, Chase Brown and Bijan. Trev also has Garrett Wilson, but the Jets are ass, so that might be a good thing that he doesn't feel obligated to play him. Tough matchups for Trev, like you said, JK, JJ, and JJ facing top 10 defenses. The 2 JJs being Justin Jefferson and Juwan Jennings, obviously. Trev sticking with Brandon Aubrey at the moment, who hasn't seen double digits since week 6. Ugh. We were all big on Brandon Aubrey, but hasn't seen double digits since week 6.
Not even last night. I saw him bomb one from like 65.
That was nullified.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a penalty on that. Yeah. More tough matchups for Jack, Cup, Debo, Hawkinson, JT, Purdy. Pretty much his whole fucking lineup has red facing defenses. Could come down to Lamar and JK, but the book doesn't think that Trevor will need too much from them to get the win. The book likes Trev, and they like him a lot. -8.5.
Wow.
Ooh. Have we ever had a double-digit spread?
We have a line moved to double digits. I want to say 10, 11, or 12 earlier this year. Could look that up in the group chat.
Well, Trevor and Jack, I'm calling this one the Curaleaf Marijuana Dispensary matchup because the Devil's Lettuce could make you feel nice and relaxed like Trevor or real anxious and jittery like Jack. Let's get into it. Jack needs it real bad, trying to avoid the season sweep at the hands of Trevor and stay out of the come game. A little note on Jack's quarterback. Brock Purdy is playing top 8 defenses. Make sure to listen to this one, Ted. In 5 of his last 6 games. He has averaged 15.96 points a game against top 8 defenses this year. I would absolutely be looking for a quarterback via trade if I were Jack looking to make a playoff push. Also, he's getting Mike Evans back. Maybe a quarterback available to stack with Mike Evans. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming. And then Bijan on a bye, like you mentioned. Trev has his old reliables, Lamar, Dobbins on Monday Night Football, McBride off of a bye. And this one comes down to the receivers, like you were saying. I mean, Jaden Reed, Juwan Jennings, some question marks around Trevor's receivers. And Jack just needs more consistency out of the double Ds. That's Debo and DK. And that's pretty much that. I think it comes down to the pass catchers. I think Jack does not have the depth to be missing Bijan, where Trevor can make up for it with Chase Brown being out. I'm taking Trev with the points, putting Jack dangerously close to the last place game.
I like it.
8.5. Woo.
My personal line probably had Trevor at like a -11.5, to be honest.
You got to keep it interesting though.
Well, I don't make the line, so it's
or
whatever.
They have to keep it interesting.
Yeah, I think they're expecting money in on Jack at 8.5.
I would put a lot on Jack.
Yeah, you can just send it over. Just let me know.
Sportsbook has been murdering me this year. I need to have a good week.
So keep moving. Our next matchup is the Ancestry.com Show Us What You're Made Of matchup. Because these two teams, they've been a little something. I really want to see what they're made out of. My team, me versus Monty. I think both of these teams, a lot of question marks. Monty, he controls his own destiny. If he wins out, he's not in the come game. I believe Kyle said that. But just looking at these two teams, Monty, he needs some big bounce back from A.J. Brown, Malik Neighbors, Maserati, both those rookies coming off of buys. And then for me, I need just some general support. I can't rely on a 40 piece from Jared Goff again, but just if Derrick Henry, Chuba Hubbard, Terry McLaurin, any of them could really go off, I'd be feeling good. RJ, has a sportsbook feel about this one?
Well, even if Jared Goff gets you 40, there's a good chance you might lose just like you did last week. So he would need 50, 60, 70 for you to even probably think about getting a win. But anyways, I digress. The Bink has the new Brandon Aubrey in my mind, and his name is Chris fucking Boswell, kicker number 1. Surprised that trades aren't coming in hot for the Bink for Brandon or for Chris Boswell. Malik Neighbors with Tommy DeVito. How will that connection look? Because obviously Daniel Jones sucks ass. But will Tommy DeVito give Malik Neighbors that sort of target share he had? Who knows? Tough time for buys, like when he needs a win real bad. Breece Hall, Darnell Mooney, Brian Thomas. Like I said with Chris Boswell, kind of surprised he hasn't looked to make a trade. Like trade away maybe some of those bye weeks now for a guy that has already had his bye weeks, because he needs to win out or he's in the come game pretty much. So if you're listening, Binky, you might look at trading a couple away of those pieces. Maybe you might not get as much value back, but you need to win. You need to win now. You need players that will perform this week. Matchups pretty nothing crazy for him. But we'll sort of get the vibes Thursday night with his team having Njoku and kicker number 1, Chris Boswell, going Thursday. And then Ted, you'll end the matchup with Derrick Henry and Justin Tucker Monday night, which will make no lead feel safe for Monty. Great matchups for Goff, Pickens, Kelsey, some tough ones for Derrick Henry and Chuba Hubbard. Books see this one as the closest line of the week, kind of give you a little gauge for the upcoming ones. But Ted still have you as the favorite -4.5.
Ooh.
Of course, all these lines they're barring any trades that happen, because like I said, the Bink I think should make a trade. I really truly do. Now, me personally, with my outlook, I don't want any of his players on a bye, but like Breece Hall seems like a great trade target to get a good running back and maybe receiver that you can play this week for him. I don't know. Just my thought. But yeah, -4.5. Sorry.
I tried to trade for James Conner a couple weeks ago, and he responds to me like 36 hours later and goes, "I'm good. Thanks for the offer, though." It's like, okay. But yes, Teddy and Monty, I'm calling this the suicide prevention hotline. I'm gonna kill myself matchup.
Wow.
Monty for obvious reasons, Teddy because his luck may be running out and a loss here may make him reach for that gun. On Monty's side, it's a goodbye to Kareem Hunt. He'll probably get negative carries, completely useless now that Pacheco was back. And we touched on it in the recap, but Monty's roster is just so thin. I know Breece and BTJ are on bye, but relying on 2 rookies, David Njoku, in a crucial matchup just is kind of brutal. Ted, I don't think you're aware of the stat I'm about to read about your quarterback, but I'm going to read it for the audience here and for you as well. Jared Goff, after this week, is playing a top 8 fantasy defense against quarterbacks every game in weeks 13 through 17, which, like, no big deal. The Lions are a wagon, right? Except he has played plenty of top 8 defenses this year, and he has averaged 17.2 points per game.
That's not a championship team led by
No, it is not. It starts at the top. It starts with leadership and accountability. And I just don't think that Jared Goff is going to have it. But in terms of this matchup, well, not this matchup yet, I would definitely be looking for a quarterback via trade if I was Teddy. I don't know if he's on the line here. Teddy, if you can hear me somewhere out there, I'd be on the trade block, but that's just me trying to secure a bye, make a playoff run, which he cannot do right now with those awful quarterback matchup outlooks. Now, Kamara, RB3, is on a bye. I had a note here. I think Teddy's range in this matchup is really big of points. I say that because we have, with some bye week trouble, Tyreek hasn't been himself. Terry and Kelsey just had sub 2-point weeks, and we don't know how they're going to respond. I think George Pickens is wildly inconsistent, sometimes more interested in like punching people in the face than playing football. And Justin Tucker sometimes forgets how to kick this year. And so I think he could go nuclear. After all, he is 8-3, but the range there is really large. All that being said, I will be taking the Bink plus 4.5 because of poor quarterback play. Poor quarterback play from Teddy. The man needs a quarterback badly. And he has 3 days to trade for one if he so chooses. 3 days until the trade deadline. The quarterback is an avenue, Teddy, for a first-round exit. I'm just trying to help. I have no skin in the game here. You have troubles at the top.
Wait, so Kev, so you're taking Monty with the points?
Yep.
Hey, Kevin, what was your double binky, too stinky, like lock bet?
I don't know. I think we're gonna edit that part out.
Yeah.
Could you tell it to me? Just remind me.
It's 2 units. I don't know what the bet was. I cannot be held accountable. I'm on hallucinogens right now. But it was 2 units on something for the discount double bink. Completely different from the fantasy preview. We're not trying to make money. We're just trying to have some takes and really have that big picture playoff outlook.
Maybe the discount double bink is projecting a trade to be made.
Whoa,
that's what they're doing.
Ted, that's your problem keeping Jared Goff, Ted. You're playing checkers while the sports book, me, the bank, we're playing chess.
Thought we were playing fantasy football. But let's move on. The next matchup, they're calling this the duct tape, get me out of this trunk matchup, because both of these teams have just been tied up, hog-tied. They're in the trunk. Chase versus Kyle. Chase, this could be huge for him, getting to 4-8. Kyle going to 5-7, or Kyle getting that 6 win, finally punching his ticket for the playoffs, leaving that come game dialogue. But just for Kyle, he's got some tough bye week action with Jamar and James Cook out. He definitely needs Jahmyr Gibbs, Brock Bowers to pick up the load. Like RJ was saying, I'll be curious to see how Nico Collins does. And then Chase's team, I really think they need to have a discussion because Chase also has some bye week trouble. Devontae Adams, Young Hoku out. And then just for Chase, I think he really needs, I don't want to say a miracle, but he really needs like Aaron Jones, Kyron Williams, Brian Robinson to really bounce out and take the load because it looks like CeeDee's not doing too great. Justin Herbert, who knows how much he can
take the load.
Justin Herbert, who knows how much he can do down the stretch. But RJ, what's the sportsbook think about this one?
Yeah, there's one stat I read, but I don't think I had it in the fun facts section. But Aaron Jones, he had like rush shares, so make it 12. Of like 80 to 90 for the last 4 weeks. Last week with Cam Akers back, he had a rush share of like 54 or 57, somewhere in the 50s. And Cam Akers just saw a lot of work. So I think I meant to mention that when Kevin was talking about his running backs. But yeah, not good, and Kyron didn't look great either. But yeah, miracle pretty much must win for Chase. It really feels like a fuck or walk type of week for him. Herbert Monday against the 30th defense against quarterbacks, and Mark Andrews Monday night. Could be what it comes down to. Tough matchups for Kyron, but that's countered with a really good one for Brian Robinson got Devontae and Koo on buys. Like I said last week, and actually earlier today, you really want like a feel-good – it's a feel-good story with Chase's team, the first team with two players that have gotten brutally shot in the season. It'd be really cool to watch them make the playoffs.
In cold blood.
Yeah, they were just laying there in cold blood. I'm pretty sure both of them were dead at one point.
Make a wish.
Yeah. They still. I think they're still on the list for their Make a Wish. Their whatever their thing is. For Kyle, Monday, Zay Flowers and possibly Ladd McConkey. I don't know. I haven't. Oh, he does have him in the lineup now, but at the point of me writing my notes, he didn't. As he'll need to replace Jamar on bye and James Cook on bye. Great matchups for Gibbs against Indy and Jaden Daniels against Dallas. Obviously, Brock Bowers, an absolute X factor at tight end. Kyle, -6.5.
Ooh.
I kind of expected more, to be honest. Kind of shocked it was just 6.5.
Okay. Let's see. Chase and Kyle. I think I'm going to call this one the Bob Marley, "You're making me crazy, man," because Kyle has James and Jamar on a bye. It's going to be absolutely huge. See if he can overcome it. Needs Jameer to go nuclear with some extra juice from Jaden. I think we talked about all that with RJ giving a great preview. Nico Collins getting back to form is going to be huge with no Jamar missing half of that 1-2 punch. Agree on Ladd McConkey could be a huge plug and play. Playing, I think, the worst fantasy D against receivers. Chase's quarterback, he's going to have Herbert in there this week, and I'm guessing for the remainder of the season. Let's see. The backfield for Chase, I know Teddy or both of you touched on it, but I had here Brian Robinson also has a plus matchup, along with Javonte Williams playing the 7th worst fantasy run defense. He actually looks to be maintaining that starting role over Adric Estime, even though there was a scare in week 10 with the running back share. He got most of those carries this past week. With that being said, I will be taking Chase with the points. I don't think Kyle can overcome two of his best players being on a bye. And for those keeping track at home, you thousands, millions of viewers and listeners, my picks would put Monty, Chase, Jack all at 4 and 8 with 2 games to play. Wouldn't that be something? I have a question. What happened on this very day, November 19th, 20 years ago? Anybody know?
Gettysburg Address.
Ted, any guesses?
George Bush was officially elected.
Not quite. It was the infamous Malice at the Palace.
Ooh.
Pacers and Pistons. I think we're going to see a similar brawl. 3, 4, and 8 teams. Only one can make it out of the last place game. Grab your popcorn and buckle up. It's going to be a good one.
Also, I guess I forgot to mention Chase's bench with Bucky Irving and Rashad White because they were on were they on a bye last week? They were, right? Yeah. The Bucks were on a bye. Yeah. Both of them in the week before performed really well against the Niners. It'll be interesting if like you mentioned, Javonte Williams, great matchup. It'll be interesting what he does with his running backs. He definitely has some room to maneuver, especially after Aaron Jones's rush share went down.
13.
So taking a look at our last matchup, we're calling this the ALO Yoga bi-curious matchup because both of these teams, they're getting a little curious about being bi and being in the bye week. RJ versus Kevin. I think either of these teams definitely still have a shot, especially with Trevor and I sliding a little bit. RJ, you need to keep up that great production from your running backs, Mixon, Walker. You really need McCaffrey to get back in there. I see you've got Mahomes at the quarterback. Interesting. Maybe you could, use some Baker magic for the rest of the season. He's been looking great. I'm sure you could use him, or maybe just pick him up in 2 weeks. Kevin, you're in bye week hell yet again. Really tough. You've got 3 guys on a bye, including Josh Allen. But like always, you've just got that top-heavy team. You need a couple guys to go nuclear, and then I think you got it in the can. But will they? Who knows? Saquon, Amon-Ra, George Kittle. RJ, how does the sports book, not you, obviously, it's not your opinion, feel about this matchup?
Now, the 2 teams here battling without their original starting quarterbacks. Also, 2 teams, 2 of the hottest teams from last week. Were second and third in the breakdown. Neither team has a Thursday or Monday night player, which I personally love. The earlier I know the outcome of the matchup, the better, and I love it all being on Sunday. Actually, yeah, it looks like both of us are going to be without our starting quarterback and a starting wide receiver. Because who do you have out, Kev?
London.
Yeah, Drake London. I have T. Higgins out. My pass catchers all have a tough matchup, all facing top 7 defenses at their respective positions. Good matchups for Mahomes, Kenneth Walker, Kevin. For you, a lot of great matchups: Mayfield, Ramondre, Ridley, Seibert, Bucks defense, all facing bottom 8. At their position. It'll be interesting if Tommy DeVito maybe has any change in that Giants offense. Maybe that Bucks defense won't look too great with them because, Tommy DeVito had that sort of a Jeremy Lin run last year a little bit. The book now, kind of shocked by this, RJ -7.5.
Wow.
Almost feels like a bait line.
Almost does. Well, let's see. Me and you, Kevin and RJ, I'm calling this one similar to Teddy's sponsorship that he gained through his channels, his network. I'm calling it the NSYNC bye matchup for a couple of reasons. One, I am in bye week hell. No one has had worse bye week luck, worse injury luck than me. It's absolutely devastating. It'd be a miracle if I can win. No, jokes aside, though, it is kind of crazy how my buys for, 5 of my best players, RJ, the first time we played, Saquon, Amon-Ra, and Pollard were on bye, and now Allen and London. It's like the only 2 weeks I've actually had bye week trouble. So lucky you. The return of Isaiah Pacheco. I've noted it a few times. I think old Big Red Andy Reid hasn't officially activated him yet, but all signs are pointing towards his return against the worst fantasy run defense in the league. So really want him to get I have my usual running backs. I don't know if I'll start him. Let's see how he kind of gets back in the swing of things, but would love to see him just grounding and pounding. Also, this is the start of the Baker Mayfield era. I have some numbers for both of you and our millions of viewers at home. 5 of Baker's final 6 games this season are against bottom 8 fantasy defenses. The other one is the Chargers defense, who are 13th against quarterbacks, middle of the pack. Baker has scored 30.71 points a game this year against any defense, not in the top 8 against quarterbacks. We will not see another one of those the rest of the way. I am not only starting Baker this week out of necessity because Josh Allen is on a bye, but I have set a meeting this afternoon with my front office to discuss the possibility of moving Baker Mayfield into the full-time starting role on Put It Allen My Butker. Baker has been notified. Josh is on vacation. He doesn't know.
I'll see you in my office.
Ted, let's make sure to block Josh Allen from the YouTube channel. But we are having a huge meeting tonight to discuss the permanent removal of Josh Allen from the starting spot. That is how high everybody should be on Baker Mayfield in the last 6 weeks. This is fantasy football. It's not real football. Baker just gets points. I would not be surprised if he is QB1 the rest of the season from this moment onward. And that is why I'm bringing in the head honchos, the big dogs, to have that conversation this afternoon. One random note. Oh, Ted, you have something?
Yeah, why'd you pick up Kyler last night if you've got two great why'd you pick up Kyler?
Just so we can learn. I like
Oh,
Kyler.
okay. Interesting. Go ahead.
Random note, I would love to get my kicker back. Siebert for the Commanders scored 12 and a half a game. I finally didn't have to stream kickers, which I don't know if I've ever had that luxury. And he's missed the last 2 games with an injury, so I don't know what's going on there. I'm about done with that. RJ mentioned we all play on Sunday, featuring Saquon versus Puka in primetime. So I'd love to still have it be close for Sunday Night Football and have that mean a little something with two, I believe, second-round picks. I'm very scared of RJ's running back, third round. I'm very scared of RJ's running back room. I mentioned in the recap, he doesn't even have room for all of his running backs. Last time I checked, RB10 David Montgomery was on his bench. RJ, and again, this was like this morning. I don't know if you've changed things, but love the Cortland Sutton start. 5 straight double-digit games. I know we talked about some target share stats a couple weeks ago. I picked him up. I did not want to drop him, but I think maybe it was I think it was Siebert getting hurt. I didn't want to drop anybody, but I dropped him, and you picked him right up. As I make my pick here, wanted to point out, thanks to the Statman's great graphics he sends out with the tiebreakers, I am either tying or winning every tiebreaker in the league except with RJ. Only Trevor and RJ are in this same position, meaning I'm 2 games back of a bye with 3 to play, but still very much in play for one of those coveted bye weeks. I'm 1-0 against Ted, 1-1 against Trevor, creeping up on that points for number, even though not by much, even after scoring 160. I am 0-1 against RJ. Need this one quite literally to stay in the bye conversation. Mathematically, I probably can't get a bye if I lose. Was having a hard time picking who I just really, biases aside, thought would pull this one out. And once I heard that line, I am hammering myself plus 7.5 and the money line. Let's get to 7 and 5. Everyone, not going to name names. Kyle continuing to say, "Oh, I'm stuck in the 3 through 6 seed. You can't get a bye." I say, nay, nay. I say my points for is up there with the best of them. I say, let's continue to win these tiebreakers. I still want the bye. Kevin plus 7.5.
Wow.
There was something I was going to say, but I forget about the matchup. Is it about? Oh, you were talking so much about Baker, and you might plug him in your lineup. It sounds like that you should maybe look at trading Josh Allen away. Have you thought about doing that maybe?
I've been having that exact conversation with multiple individuals the last 24 hours. Could be a big splash, but a couple of people are very hesitant and, dare I say, scared, wanting to hang on to people that they're not even going to use when they can get a premier quarterback that takes them from good to great. So I guess we'll see.
Sounds like their loss.
That's what I think. Ted, what are your thoughts?
I just think you're just trying to help people, and they're too stupid to see that
That's what I'm saying.
It's a win-win, no doubt. What does Ginny think? Ginny,
what do you think?
She says, let's do a trade.
This week we got 3 matchups where the bottom 3 guys are facing some of the top guys. So if any of those guys could get a big upset, that would just be huge. And then there's me and Kevin, some heavy swinging guys going at it. Should be a good weekend. I'm excited. Excited to see who prevails.
One thing, it's a massive week, especially for tiebreakers and stuff. One thing I meant to mention, I hadn't looked into the numbers on this, but RJ, you said, I think it was Jalen Hurts, 9 rushing touchdowns the last 5 weeks. I've tried really hard not to bitch about the tush push because I knew that's what I was getting myself into when I drafted him. But Saquon is RB2 overall, less than 13 points behind Henry. And that's like, 9 vultures just in the last 5 games. Like, imagine if it was not this, like, revolutionary concept. I mean, Saquon would have historic numbers if he got those touchdowns.
You had Jalen Hurts last year, so you should, if anyone knows the pain, even though you have the other side, you should know.
Well, and the tweet I think everyone's seen, someone might have even sent it in the group me, was so validating where it's like, I know like the tush push and that's a bummer, but I was like, Hurts had 3 rushing touchdowns 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was like, God, this happens a lot. And this guy looked into it, and Saquon has the most,
Yeah.
The most
I was just
touches
about to say
that ended like 9 of them that ended the 1, and they tush push it every time. He could have double the touchdowns.
Yeah, it was nine times, and then he tweeted the play that they ran after it, and I think 7 or 8 of them was the tush push, and then 1 I know was a Saquon carry, stopped at the 1, the next or didn't gain any yards, and then the very next play was the tush push.
Yeah. Still 208 though. I mean, he's been great. Exactly what I was hoping for. So maybe go down at the 5. What else, Ted?
Well, I don't think there is anything else. This has been a quick episode.
Quickest one yet.
Wrapped it up real quick. Probably just like put it in on your, a nice quick walk, picking up some milk. But if you guys don't have anything else, and it seems like your old target shared out, as always, what?
All tuckered out.
All Justin tuckered out. As always, thanks for listening to the Zions of Football Fantasy Football podcast. Make sure to get those bets in for the Thursday night game. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at ZFFFL Pod, except for the Twitter, unless
Twitter's coming back, baby. Maybe.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always,
fuck you, Trevor.
Trevor.